Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Celeste Prescott, Public Information Officer with Southwest Incident Management Team 1. This is the Calf Canyon and Hermits Peak fire update for May 22nd. I'm going to start with a operations overview on the West Zone with Southwest Incident Management Team 1 Operations Section Chief Jason Coyle.
Hey, good evening. So I'm going to go around the map on the west side, all the way up through Division Kilo, and then we have a couple of videos showing the results of the work that's being done in there, and then we'll go down and talk about the efforts that are ongoing south of the 518 corridor. All right. So with that, the contingency line that is going in across the top of the fire there, our indirect line, progress is ongoing. We about got the initial dozer line push put in on this east-west line, and it's going to take several days for the thinning along that line to be completed. But the crews are making good progress, and everything is progressing as planned. So as we go south all the way down this line is a plan line. It has not been put in yet, and when I get done talking about the fire, we'll reference the pace map, and I'll kind of explain to you what that means. So in the Chacon area, the two videos that you're going to see are, the first one is looking south, basically with the aircraft right over Chacon, and the intent there is to show you what this fire activity looks like on the eastern side. And as you can see, that's continuing to close up and get closer down to the road where we can extinguish the edge of it, and we will continue to work on that over coming days. The second video is going to show the results of the efforts of those, multiple hotshot crews on multiple days working to get all the way around this fire's edge. So with that, we'll go to the two videos, and then I'll give you the stuff south.
What? Firewatch 5-1, May 22nd, 13:03 hours on the Calf Canyon incident. What you're looking at is off the 121 road. This would be the east side of that. And there's the community right there in the crosshairs, the various outbuildings, houses, that type of thing. We're going to kick in an IR. This is what's coming down, backing its way down. The west side of the highway, there is absolutely no heat signatures whatsoever, but these specific ones, this one right here in the crosshairs, and then this one right here. If you pause your video, LRF target would be right there is the lat long for that one. Then we'll move over here to this one. Again, LRF target would be the location of that one. This is on the east side of the 121 road, and it would just be, let's say, give it a better location would be just to the southwest of Circle Dip. And that would be end of recording. What? Firewatch 5-1, May 22nd, 13:06 hours local time. We're on the Calf Canyon between the areas of Chacon and Romero Lake. Chacon would be just to the east of this. Romero Lake would be to the west. We're basically southwest looking northeast. There's no heat signatures whatsoever in this area. There's the Chacon area. So Chacon would be on the upper right-hand side of the screen, and then we'll go back towards the west. Take it into a colored image. This is zoomed out as we're going to get right there. Back into IR. Couple of heat signatures right there. Nothing to worry about. That would be kind of in a pocket, or correction in the black. Back to IR, and that's over by Romero Lake is what you're looking at right there. Back into that, and that would be end of recording.
All right. So, one of the things that those videos demonstrated is basically when you see that heat that was high up on the slope above the 121 road there on the eastern side. A couple things compared to the left side. That's after all the work's been done. So we go to the map. This area up here is after all the The work has been done to secure that fire's edge. And that area where you saw that bright white is the areas where that fire is still moving down towards the area where we intend to secure the fire's edge. Another way to look at that is that all that white heat, that was the stuff that was existing out here before the combination of hotshot crews and helicopters did their work over multiple days. And basically what they've done there is they've prevented the potential of that fire from getting established in those timber stringers to the north. And once we get under southwest winds like we expect over the coming days, having that fire move east underneath the Luna Scar, threaten Sierra Bonita, threaten Black Lake, and Hidden Lake and everything else along the 121 road, or the 120 road there. All right, so moving down to the southern end of the fire, south of the 518 road from Angostura west. Right now we have 5 hotshot crews that have been inserted on this piece of line right here. This is the nastiest piece of line left on the fire, and it's probably the nastiest piece of line that we've put crews on. So there's a lot of mitigations that needed to occur to make sure that we could do that safely, and that we could make sure that the coordination with aircraft and with ground resources added the benefit that we desired out of those ground resources without adding any additional risk. And what I mean by that is a 2,000 gallon bucket, what's water, 8 pounds a gallon, so 8 tons. You don't want 8 tons of water hitting a dead tree next to you, and you dang sure don't want to get hit by 8 tons of water. So we need to make sure that there's close coordination with the aircraft so that they can lead in front of the crews and get the work done that needs to be done to extinguish that and to aid in extinguishing it without adding to the risk that the crews are exposed to in that area. So as we continue work they're working in multiple directions, but as we continue to secure the area from this Helispot 462 all the way back to Angostura along this edge, then we'll start to focus our attention down here working south and getting this tied back all the way into to where we lose the fuel as we get next to this ridge south of Jicarita Peak and near where the trail for Serpent Lake intersects the area where there's no more fuel. That's also going to take a significant amount of time. So concurrent with that effort, we're going to continue to work on this dozer line, get this tied in. So with that, I'm going to go over the pace map real quick. Something new, maybe it's new to y'all. First time I've shown it, but anyhow, what I'd like to do is just show you how we communicate some of our different strategic efforts. If you see this dark blue line going all the way around here, this is our primary line. So the primary line isn't the line closest to the fire. It's not like a bullseye where the primary line is closest. And the reason for that is that primary line, that's got to be kind of your sure bet. I shouldn't even say sure bet, but the area where you think that you have the highest likelihood of being successful and that you have the time to complete it. So high probability of success is what we say. So this line is the one that has the high probability of success, and it's going to take a lot of time to put this in. And basically what you try to do is you position those lines between to the maximum advantage between the values and the fire. And that's what this is. The alternate, and that's what we're addressing right now, is going direct along these fire's edge. So we see these green lines. These are our alternate efforts. They're efforts that we think that we can engage in that if they're successful, will reduce the size of the fire, reduce the potential threat, or even just the duration of the incident. And this green line right here, that's an alternate that's been successful. And this green light right here is an alternate that we're engaged in. But because of the fact that Lana Largo's, just right over there, everything that we have, all the values, the communities, everything around here, we will focus significant effort on this alternate, but we're not going to abandon our primary until such time as we know that these fire's edges are secure. These yellow lines that you see in between here, these are our contingencies. So if the fire was to move outside of that alternate line in an area, like say over here where I'm pointing right now, we may choose to utilize this dozer line that already exists here and open up more dozer line and improve the road system here back towards Martinez Pond to segment the fire and keep it just in this area. If this fire over here to the west was to push out, we may choose to do the same thing and hold the 518 road here. And what we do is we pre-plan these. We work with local resources. We use modeling. We use a lot of different tools to make it where when it's time to pivot and change our tactics on the ground, that we've already gamed out what the next place to go is and what resources and stuff would be necessary to complete that work. And that allows us to be more nimble, allows us to dedicate more effort into the high probability solutions and still be able to move rapidly to a lower probability solution or the next alternative if the situation dictates. With that, that'll be the end of the report for the West Zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. We always appreciate your detailed reports. And I did want to share some numbers for those folks that are listening on the radio and can't see the ticker at the bottom. Current acreage is 310,253 acres. We remain at 40% contained with 2,930 personnel currently assigned to the fire. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to our partners on the South Zone. For California Interagency Incident Management Team 5 Operations Section Chief Alex McBath.
All right, good evening. I'm going to go over the South Zone of the fire, and if you're just joining us, the South Zone is everything below this line from just north of Gascon across on the county boundary. So we have management of this fire, and we took it about 2 days ago, and we got a few days left. So sounds like the West Zone's having really, really good success, and to follow along with them, we are also. So I'll kind of work from the east side of our fire around to the west side of our fire. The east side is looking really, really good. Haven't had any real significant heat on that side for multiple days now since we've been here. We still have a presence on the east side, and there is an occasional flare-up. Nothing next to the line as of the last 2 days. We have folks up into the communities here kind of in the middle of the fire, Lower Rosita, Lone Pine Mesa, Gascon. We still have a presence up in there just in case something should flare up. The weather has really tampered the fire's heat down. It's been a lot cooler and a lot moisture, so we do suspect that as the days go on and things heat up, that might have some heat sources pop up that we'll need to address, and so we'll continue with a presence on that side. Coming on around to the southern end and Borealis Peak. Yesterday, as if you were listening to my report yesterday, we had significant winds the night before out of the east. They pushed some fingers down off the top of Skyline Ridge. Today, the crews got in there, aircraft, and presently everything looks really good from the Borealis Road all the way up to the first finger. They've held the fire all the way down to the 203 road. Across the bottom of the 203, this is now filling in nicely. And then they do have check line up the ridge a ways on Rodosa Ridge. So everything's looking really good. It's all within our primary lines, and it's given us a fairly good anchor to anchor off of today. In addition to that, up here in Bull Creek, this finger came out to the west. It spotted. We checked the spot again today. It was about 5 acres. That spot has been contained, and they're mopping it up. No threat from that. And crews engaged on the north side of this spot, and they feel like they have the resources to get line from the top of Skyline down into Bull Creek back to our primary line in about a day. So tomorrow you'll be listening in to see how successful we were, and the weather's looking good for that action to occur. Now, in between Rodosa Ridge and the finger that came out of Bull Creek, there is still a lot of green left in that area. So we've been monitoring that. The north side of this was expected to have some northerly movement. It didn't move as much as we thought it would, so that's looking really good, but it's in a place where it will move to the north. So over the next couple days, we do expect this kind of green horseshoe to fill in over the next couple days, and if we get line across the north, that'll be real easy for us to focus our attention on, and the crews to be successful holding this bottom end. Moving on up, we had crews check this line from the off of Skyline. They walked this today. Everything's looking really good. It's still within the lines that are in. And if we're successful to the south, we'll be moving our focus more to the north here in the next few days. Along with the direct and the holding that we've been doing along the 203 and Bull Creek, we've also been addressing some of our fallback or contingency lines, alternate lines. We are working secondary lines that they've found out over in between the Pecos Valley and the current fire perimeter that they feel they can be really successful on. They're going to start operations tomorrow. They started a little bit today, but tomorrow they'll start operations, which would put a line protecting all the structures down in Pecos Canyon if something should occur off the main fire. Addition to that, we had structure protection groups. We got a fairly large group now. They are up in all the communities along the Pecos corridor. That's the last corridor up by Tres Lagunas, Holy Ghost, Cowles. They're all up in there. They got behind some gates and found a lot more structures, and so they're going to continue that into tomorrow. Everything's going really good, and for the most part, everything's looking real good as far as the assessment of those structures and the prep. So we have water handling equipment in place, and all we have to do is get our firefighters to those structures, and we feel like we can protect the ones that we've prepped. Moving on up to the north, we did have a flight today. We've been monitoring it by air, and this is a piece up around Spring Mountain in the wilderness, and that fire has not moved significantly at all since we've been here the last 3 days. So we're keeping an eye on that up there. We haven't put any resources. We put a lot of focus into this down here and the protection measures for the structures in the valley. But we're going to be in the next 2 days probably looking at a more direct access into this Spring Mountain and getting folks in there to start looking at that. On up to the West Zone, you heard their successes today. Their success leads to our success, and so we're looking at this whole piece between the two zones and how we're going to connect those together, and I think we're going to come up with a really good plan for that. I do want to bring in the weather a little bit. What we're looking at is a real good day today, which we had, a fairly good day tomorrow weather-wise, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, it looks like there's a chance of thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms are always a red flag for our firefighters because of the winds. And so those winds, when they occur, and how, depending on how the thunderstorm builds, could shift significantly in a real quick manner. So we're going to keep an eye on those thunderstorms and how intense they are and how they might affect our operations. But we feel like we have today, the successes we had today and the success we'll have tomorrow, we'll be able to hold whatever we get in if a thunderstorm should push winds our way. Overall, on the South Zone, a really good day. Firefighters did an outstanding job, and we're really proud of the work they put in there. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Alex. We really appreciate that report with lots of good news coming out of it. And we're going to go ahead and see what the East Zone was dealing with today. Their Operations Section Chief, Keith Garola, for California Interagency Incident Management Team 2.
Of the resources coming in, along with the moderated weather, we made some great strides. So let's go over the east side of the fire. We'll start at the south portion, the area around Mora, all the way up to Guadalupita. That again is in patrol status. We will have still units running up and down the roadway there for quite a few days still. Come up around the top end. This is where we had a little bit of an issue the other night. The crews had boxed in the slop that we had, and then today they were able to go direct with handline around that slop over, and we feel really confident on containing that at this point in time. Again, we'll continue to have crews in here for the next few days, continuing to get more depth as far as mop up on the portion here, and continue to reinforce our indirect line that goes up to the Luna burn. Out on the east side, the contingency area, work is still being done in this area. The crews have done some real good work, and we're at the point now where we feel confident the lines that they've put in would hold if anything was to happen in the next few weeks, or any new starts. Moving to the north, the Tango Tango and the getting into Oscar Oscar. Again, real good prep around the structures. Oscar Oscar has some indirect line on top of the ridge. They've been working to the north for a few days, and we had Lima Lima all the way at the top of the summit, 64 summit, working down towards them. They are making great progress, and that line should come together in the next few days. After it comes together, they'll just improve that. One of the things that we want to talk about that we mentioned last night was right-sizing our organization. We did have an influx of resources that came in preparation for the potential of this fire hooking around towards the north and to the east. That did not happen. Those resources still came in. So we were able now to access those resources and ship them down to the south, where the fire is obviously very active. So we were able to do that today. We sent a hand crew and some engines. We also have developed an initial attack group. You heard Alex mention about the potential for thunderstorms. We want to make sure that if the lightning does come through, that we're prepared to jump on those fires fast and augment the local resources that we have still up in Angel Fire to attack those quickly and keep them to a minimum. That's pretty much it for the evening today, or the evening, and it looks like we'll have a real good night. We're going to start reducing our night shift staffing, but we'll still maintain a minimal presence. End of report.
Thank you, Keith. That's more good news. We're very happy to hear. And for those that still have questions concerning operations, if you want to go ahead and drop those in the chat, we have a fantastic crew of public information officers in all three zones that are answering questions as quickly as they can. Any overarching or common questions that we see, we will try to address if time permits at the end. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Stuart Turner, our fire behavior analyst.
Good evening. Stuart Turner. I'm the fire behavior analyst for the Southwest Team 1 in the western zone of the fire. So what I do is I predict what the fire is going to do, where it's going to go, and how big it's going to get. I look at a lot of different things. I'm looking at the weather, the fuels, and the topography. And the weather has been driving the fire behavior for the last couple of days. And so I want to talk about that and what we're seeing in the upcoming weather. So tomorrow, looking at the matrix, we see we're going to have a lot of clouds, a lot of smoke cover. What that does is it takes out the solar radiation, which really lowers the fire behavior across the fire, and that's going to help the firefighters greatly. It's going to cool off. The humidity is going to be relatively elevated, if you will. It's not going to be real low like we've been seeing in the past. And then the overnight humidity, that's the big news, is that overnight humidity is pretty high. That's moistening up those fine dead fuels that actually carry the fire. And so that's limiting the spread of the fire. And then, of course, the winds are moderate winds, 14 gusting to 24 tomorrow. So nothing out of the ordinary that will really push the fire around. But more importantly, those winds will allow the aircraft to fly and to be able to assist those firefighters on the ground and help them check the spread of the fire. And then the wind direction is a big change. You know, we've been seeing a little bit of easterly component in it. So tomorrow we're going to go back to that west-southwest. So more west, a little bit of southerly to it. So that's going to change things up. And then the big news for the next couple days is that chance of thunderstorms you heard about from one of the ops chiefs that will be coming in. What that brings for the firefighters is that gusty outflow winds. And that's erratic gusty outflow winds, meaning they come from any direction. A thunderstorm may set up on the west side and push the fire to the east. It may set up on the east side, push the fire to the west, north, south, any direction. We just don't know which direction it's going to set up, and if it has any outflow winds, where they're going to come from and what direction they're going to push the fire in. So we have to be aware of that at all times, and our meteorologists will be watching over the firefighters to make sure they're safe and are aware of any spread that may come. But we're looking at least 2 really good work days for the firefighters out there, not extreme fire behavior, moderate to active fire behavior for those days. Even on Wednesday, it's not going to be outrageously terrible for the firefighters. It's going to be a fairly good work day. The humidity will come down a little bit. But I'm looking at several good days of work ahead of us that we can get some of this buttoned up and start taking care of some of this problems we're seeing around the fire out there. Now let's take a look at the map and what I think is going to be happening around the fire as we progress in tomorrow. We'll start on the south side, down the Mineral Hills, Lagunas area. Not expecting any problems down here. As I said, the wind's going to be coming with that southerly component again tomorrow, so that's going to help those folks pushing anything back into the black. As we go up the east side, Las Vegas, and all the way up, we're going to get that west wind, which will test those east lines, but it's going to be a real weak test with the humidity levels as they are elevated. And I'm not expecting anything to come out of there. However, you may still see some interior pockets burn out, or some heat sources consume whatever little fuels that they have available to them. So as we go all the way up the east side, same thing, a weak test of all that line. Now we get all the way up to the very tip of the northeast corner of the fire. You heard from operations, they've got around that up there, not expecting anything to come out of there. But once again, we put a little bit of southerly wind on that out of the south or the west southwest. That's going to expose that tip to some of that spotting that may jump across the line and get established. Now, the way the fuels are moistened up, I'm not expecting any kind of spots or rollouts or new starts from lightning tomorrow to be very efficient. They're going to be easy to catch, and with the aircraft flying, the crews in close proximity, I don't think we'll see a whole lot of issues with that. So as we come down in Chacon area, you saw the video, the 121 corridor, that area here will continue to back down, consuming those fuels, allowing that area to become safe. Once the fuels are gone, they can't reburn because they are no longer there. The northern tip, you saw that video also. The hot spots are being limited. However, there are still open line there, and that west-southwest winds will test those areas and see if they find any weakness in there. Once again, any spots across the line, I think will be fairly easy to pick up over the next couple of days. Now let's jump over to the area that spotted out a couple of days ago, started to grow. You heard from operations that they're in there working this line with hot shots by Astoria. Not anticipating any problems for those folks. The fire behavior is moderate enough that they can get in there and safely work that and go more direct. Once again, with that west-southwest, it has an opportunity to push across that line or jump across that line. But with the aircraft and the crews right there, I think they'll be able to pick up any of those spots that try to get across. As we come down the west side, now the winds are going to be more favorable for fire because it wants to push everything back in to the black and not allow it to spread out. So now it has to fight against that wind to move to the west. And the way it's going to do that is finding some slope and try to go up that slope as best it can. It's going to be a struggle, minimal growth all the way down along the entire west side because of that west-southwest wind. And that brings us back down to the southwest corner in the Pecos Valley, Pecos area, Upper Colonos. And these two little runs that it made a couple nights ago, those will continue to spread to the north and fill in any kind of fuel opportunities it can find to the north of both of them, but limited spread. And I want to show you that limited spread on some of the runs that we did. Let me bring that up. There we go. And these, they're not very impressive, but I think they're impressive just from the fact that they're not impressive. So you can see very limited growth. This is a 3-day run down here, and it really doesn't go anywhere over the next 3 days because the weather is really keeping it in check, and the crews are in here limiting where it can go and what fuels it can have to burn. So I'm not expecting a great deal of growth on the Pecos Valley area, just moving a little bit to the north, trying to fill in wherever it can find some fuels that are available to it, side slope, that type of thing. And as we go to the north end, the runs are showing pretty much the same thing all along this west side. This is a 5-day run up here, and just really struggles to maintain any type of growth at all. And then as we get all the way up to the top here by Astoria, you can see where the crews are working. If it did get away from them and they did nothing to it, it's just going to struggle to try to grow on here. And remember, these runs are, if we did no suppression action at all, that's what would be predicted to happen in there. But as you know, we're going to have aircraft in the air, we're going to have crews on the ground, they're going to be in there doing a lot of suppression action. So it's going to be a couple of really good work days. I think we'll see limited growth, limited smoke in the air. Probably the biggest or most amount of smoke you're going to see is down there in that Pecos Valley area as they work on those 2 runs that came out a couple of days ago. And if you have any questions, I'll be around to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. More good news, and thank you very much for taking your time out of, I know, your busy day to do that. We're going to turn it over to the Colfax County Sheriff, Leonard Baca.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leonard Baca with the Colfax County Sheriff's Office. I just wanted to check in with everybody and update them as to what's going on in Colfax. As you all have probably seen on our Facebook page, we were able to repopulate the communities of Black Lake Resort, and Hidden Lake this morning at 8 o'clock. We had another good meeting at 10 o'clock in our discussions for some more good things to come, hopefully in the next day or so. I just want to stress to everybody that even though we've repopulated, please be aware of your surroundings. Those communities are still in set status. We've heard a lot of good news, but just be aware of what's around. If you see any smoke, call 911 right away. Also be aware that we have a lot of fire crews and a lot of fire apparatus still moving around in those communities, still working to protect those structures and keep our communities safe. With that, I have nothing further this evening. Back to you, Celeste.
Thank you, Leonard. We appreciate that. And I did have a chance to speak with San Miguel County Sheriff Lopez, and there was no major changes for this evening, so he's taking the evening off, much deserved. I also was in touch with Mora County Under Sheriff Padilla, and he had an emergency come up, but he is planning on being here tomorrow evening, as well as Taos County Sheriff Holgriff. And now I'm going to turn it back to California Interagency Incident Management Team 2, Incident Commander Curtis Coots.
Everybody. Curtis Coots, Incident Commander for California Incident Management Team 2. So, one of the great things that we're observing over the last couple of days that we've heard from both the weatherman and from Steve with fire behavior is our firefighters have been able to keep this fire in the current footprint for the last 3 to 4 days. And that's very heroic for what they've been doing. That's A. And B is those folks out there, as mentioned, for the next couple days, they're going to continue to armor, whether it's the communities of Sierra Bonita to Black Lake. They're going to continue that hard work on making sure they harden those communities. And the same goes with the resources, all the heavy equipment, the local government resources, both local and from out of the region. They're doing their darndest as well to be prepared in the event after the rain or the weather that you saw for the next couple of days. We're going to dry out. And I think between all three ICs, between the South, the West, and the East, we have a commitment to make sure that we're going to stay in touch, in tune with the fire behavior and what the potential threat could be. By no means are any one of us going to let our guard down. We want to maintain the current footprint that we have, and we have multiple contingency lines, whether it's the south zone, the west zone, or the east zone in place in the event it happened to try to squeeze out in any direction. So just reassurance that we're not going anywhere, and our firefighters are going to continue to do a bang up job with keeping it within its current footprint. And let's just pray for them and hope they are able to do that safely, effectively, and efficient. And with that, have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Curtis. And I understand that there's been some questions about why we're continuing to see acres on this fire increase. And we're going to bring Jason Coyle back up to explain that.
Hi, yeah. So, yes, you're going to see parts of the fire continue to grow. I think it was Frederick the Great that said, "He who defends everything defends nothing." And so on the west and the southern zone, we've been closely coordinating on what we defend. And the areas we choose to defend are those areas closest to the values. So that means that other areas you're going to see growth. The stuff along the 121 corridor where the fire's backing down to the road, that will also add acres to the fire. The thing that we are focusing on is making sure that we're concentrating our forces in the areas where they can do the most benefit, and also ensuring that high probability solution, those contingency lines that IC from Team 2 talked about, that those are in place when we need them. It's the turn in the battleship thing. If all of a sudden we're like, yeah, we might not need them, there's still 5-6 weeks of summer left before we get the monsoons. But we're going to assume that we're not going to get any more windy days. We're going to assume that we're going to be able to go direct and catch it. And we're going to assume that we can pull those resources off of those contingency lines. That's a bad call. None of us are going to make that call. We're going to work on those contingency lines concurrent with the direct lines, with a focus on protecting the values and minimizing the fire size to the maximum extent possible. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Jason. And I do want to just extend a thanks to Jasmine, our American Sign Language interpreter, as well as Robin, who's handling the closed caption. I know there's a lot of appreciation for that, and they may not see it all in the comments, so I wanted to let them know. And we like to see Jasmine thank herself in American Sign Language. In addition, I would like to thank JA Media, who is in location at all 3 different ICPs so that we can make this production happen smoothly. And we really couldn't do it without all the help here. With that, thank you all for joining us. We'll be here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Until then, stay safe.